Are we about to suffer inflation 2.0? I know we went back a few, quarters ago, we were at 9%. We're now currently bouncing around 3. According to Meredith Whitney, Freddie Mac's proposal to unlock the second mortgage is potentially going to release $1 to $3 trillion in the US economy. She thinks 1 trillion could be unlocked by the end of summer. Matt, you're in the mortgage business, been in it a long time. Can you fathom $1 trillion of second mortgages coming out? It seems mind-boggling to me, but you're in the business.
Right. Yeah. And that would have tremendous impact on the US economy, right? Like, I don't know what the numbers,
you think?
I don't know what the numbers were for how much was sent out in stimulus, but to think that, like, you know,
wasn't trillions. It
right,
wasn't
yeah,
trillions.
it didn't have a T on it. So, like, many factors of that coming out. The truth of the matter is, while I want to talk about, you know, the Freddie Mac closed-end seconds and this, you know, proposed new product, which I think is going to be go from proposed new product to actual product relatively soon, because that 30-day window for comments ends like May 16th. So we're right around the corner from that comment period ending and it probably becoming a product. While it's great, and I know exactly where Freddie Mac's coming from, let's provide good solutions for homeowners. They've got more equity than ever. You know, they probably need access to this equity, quite a few of them. Options that don't include taking out a cash out refinance that is, you know, long-term financially disastrous. But this thought, let's attack that first thing. Like, this isn't going to be that impactful, Michael. Like, as much as it makes a great headline, and it probably got more clicks than if it was just like, hey, Freddie Mac, new closed-end second product coming aboard. A few of these are going to be written. Like, that's not as splashy as,
well, let me ask you this way, because I think you're right. I think the current proposal is Freddie Mac first, Freddie Mac second.
Correct.
Which is, I mean, it's certainly helpful. I think there will undoubtedly be people take advantage of it. I think Freddie Mac, you know, realizing that a lot of people are in first, so they're not going to do cash out refis. You know, I think it's an interesting product. But if we step back and, you know, Freddie Mac goes, and then FHA goes, and then VA goes, and you know, all these conventional lenders go, could that potentially unlock, you know, hundreds of billions, if not $1 trillion? Because there's a lot of equity today. I don't know what the numbers are, but I think I read somewhere there's like 46 trillion in equity. So if 46 is the number, 1 trillion is, you know, I don't know what that is, probably 2%. So you know,
yeah, well,
is it possible?
I think where I, you know, tend to lean towards, like, this isn't going to have humongous impact is there was already products out there. There's already things in place that allow people to access their home equity. If they haven't accessed 10 trillion in home equity with everything that's out there, what makes you think that this, while it's a great option and it will be something that's more widespread? Because for anybody who doesn't, like, understand how it all works, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that's who writes the rules and creates the buckets for conventional loans. Vast majority of 2020-21 refinanced sub 4%, sub 3% loans are owned by Fannie or Freddie. And so I think that Fannie follows Freddie, and there's going to be a product that's similar. And so basically it's going to say, if you have a conventional first mortgage, you're going to be able to write a second loan behind that. And here's what I really, really agree with, Mike, and I want people to hear. This product, because it's going to be backed by Fannie and Freddie, these huge GSEs, is going to be a lower interest rate, a fixed rate payment. It's going to be a good product. That's where my whole heart is behind it, because Rocket Mortgage and others who prey on people who really need the money and say, you know, let's refinance you and go from 3% to 7%. In their proposal, Mike, they had a little chart, and they used a small example, because I realized, living in California, not everyone has $600,000 firsts, but they used $120,000 first, $30,000 in equity tap as the example.
I saw that.
And in that small example, somebody who could keep their 3% first in place, take that 30 grand at 9.5% and have a fixed payment for $400 until they pay it off 20 years later, is going to save $160 a month. For somebody in whatever part of the country that has that small mortgage, $160 a month is a lot, right?
It is, yeah.
Groceries, it's kids' activities, and so it's a great product. Does it, result in trillions of dollars of second loans? I don't think so. But
Yeah.
will quite a few of them be written, and will people have a better option for accessing their home equity? Yes, and so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I just looked it up. According to a very quick Google search, there's over 30 trillion in home equity today. Again, one data source. I didn't bother finding others, but 30 trillion is a big number. And so when you think about 30 trillion as home equity, that's not all quote unquote tappable. That's
Exactly.
another thing, right? Because you're not going to go to 100%. I think I read where Fannie Mac caps at 80 or 75%. Do you know where they cap that second at?
Yeah, this proposal says equal to or less than 80%,
So that's a
combined
good
loan to
thing.
value.
So you're not running it up to 100.
Right, right.
We're not gonna repeat
And
that.
something else to think about, if you think about all the total equity, you've talked about it, and I've seen the numbers, like a third of homes in the US don't have any mortgage at all. And so there's probably 15 trillion in equity from free and clear homes. And so they wouldn't get a second loan. They just go
Go
out
get a
and,
first.
and,
Yeah.
and write a first. And so, yeah, whatever the number is where it's like true tappable equity that is between what's owed on Fannie and Freddie firsts and the 80% loan to value, like for this market, it's probably in the trillions. But if there's 5 trillion in that bucket to be tapped, 5% of people do it, and we're talking 250 billion, right? So it's not a trillions, a market mover. People are going to be investing in meme stocks again. I think that's all behind us, Mike.
Well, let's who would take this, right? Again, we're going to assume Freddie and Fannie and all these people copy Freddie Mac. I think a family who's looking to make updates on the house, that kind of makes sense. College kind of makes sense if that's where they want to go. I was also thinking about the economy slowing down, and maybe you and your wife, one of you feels like your job could be at risk. Does that person go do this and then stick the money in the bank? I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking about, to your point, like who would use it today? Because you could get a home equity loan. You could do these other things. But you're right, Freddie Mac will be cheaper. It'll be fixed. I was just thinking about who might use, like, who would use this new thing, given that there's already some things out there. What do you think?
Yeah, you know what? I can see the conversation, which is a conversation that's already being had because there's other products available, of these people that feel quote unquote locked into their low mortgage payment. And, for one reason or another, they're like, this house kind of works for me, doesn't really. I'm going to be caring for an aging parent. Who might use it, Mike, is somebody who says, if I can pull 100,000 or 120,000 and have a $600 payment on a second, and I build an ADU, and my mother-in-law moves in there and she may take care of, we need one more bedroom. We need to do, renovations to this house because kid number 3 is on the way. This is probably a better option. And at least it's an option for some people that say, I don't want to sell and pick up and buy and have mortgage payment go from 1,800 to 4,500. And so those are the people, because there's a ton of people that are in the glorious position where their mortgage payment 16, 1,800, 2,000. There's a crazy stat, Mike, that most people can't afford to buy their house they're living in if they had to buy it again today.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that. I mean, I do the math and it's wild. Affordability is certainly stretched. And again, even if you could buy it, could you get approved, right? You want to buy it, but could you get approved? It's a different ballgame at 7.5%. So yeah, folks, I do think this second mortgage is interesting. I do think the notion that it's going to unlock 1 trillion to 3 trillion is unlikely, given there are other opportunities out there. But hey, if it's right for you, do the numbers, do the math. please don't just go ball out on meme stocks. Let's not do that again.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, to your point, you were like, would some people do this just to have kind of a safety net? I don't know, because I have these conversations, and as much as it's nice to have a safety net, the rate that they used
Yeah,
was a
9.5%.
9.5% on their estimate.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want to pull 80 grand and pay 10% interest on it just to have it sitting there?
Yeah,
Probably not.
probably
But
not.
you
Yeah, you're
know,
right.
if it's a cushion as somebody quits their day job and transitions into opening a yogurt shop, or it's an addition or an ADU or consolidation of other, 25% credit card debt,
Yeah.
it's definitely a viable option. And like my whole thing, being intimate with people and their finances, the best thing for most people, a fixed rate, fully amortized payment. They know exactly what it is
Yeah.
this month, next year. And
Agreed.
you know the number you owe. 467 is due on the first of every month. You take that and pay off other debts or whatever the case may be. And it's a very low risk product, which is what most people need, because most people just can't control themselves, Mike. That's what I've learned, honestly.
So right.
I
So right.
might be included in that bunch in some areas, right?
Kings. Anyways, Matt, if somebody want to reach out to you, see what, if they want to talk more about this particular program, how would they do that?
Go to greatmortgagebroker.com. Whether it's a first loan, a second loan, whether you're in California or Florida, one quick public service announcement while we're at it. When you get yourself pre-approved, when you're doing the work and you're figuring out, your financial feasibility and how much you're approved for, things change. And so you need to stay in front of that. This is a quick tale, Mike, and I have to share it with you.
Yep.
Talk to a buyer who was in contract May of 2024.
Okay.
He got himself pre-approved with a credit union in January of 2024. Now, it might not be a problem if nothing has changed. Since January, when he got pre-approved based on tons of overtime in 2022 and 2023, I said, hey, the math isn't mathing for your salary, your base versus this home. Like, how did this credit union qualify you? Oh, I think they used some overtime. Well, okay. How much overtime do you have in 2024? None. I'll tell you what happens, Mike. Like, you take a 2-year average if it's continuing. If year to date you have 0, what does a lender think the future holds? They're not guaranteed it's going to be. So get yourself pre-approved, know your numbers, and revisit it. Even if you're not buying, like in this guy's case, especially if you're out there putting offers, think to revisit the pre-approval. But I can only save so many, Mike. I can't save them all. Go to Matt the Mortgage Guy on YouTube. There's 1,000 videos of me trying to save the world.
There you go. Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Thanks, Mike.